I mean, I have something to share right at the beginning, and then I think it'll just lead us from there.
Well, thank you for inviting us, William. Let's crack on, my friend, and let's see where we go. So please.
All right. I'm going back. I wanted to talk a little bit about the call we did with the group the other day. The subject matter was in the now, or being in the now, or working from the now. And I started off that call by sharing how I woke up. I think it was on the 8th of January, and I was feeling this sort of sadness, depression, and fear, kind of a mixture of which. And that's what I used to start the conversation. But I didn't go into it too much because, you know, with the group call, you want to share the space, and otherwise everyone talks for an hour. Yeah. You're going to have a Zoom call. And then also some things have happened since that call that that I found very fascinating. And then during a meditation yesterday, I had this message or urge to say, this would be a great subject to talk about with Lee on a recorded call. So that's why I reached out and extended the invitation to you. So thank you for taking that on. So let's go back to that morning when I woke up and I was feeling depressed and down. I think one of the things that I realized from that and the conversation that we had on the TAO Eternally call with the 12 people was that I have, through conditioning or just habit or whatever you want to call it, my habitual way of doing things is that I need to see something before I can believe it. In other words, seeing is believing, that old expression that we all hear. And so during that call, of course, I talked about the fact that the 6th didn't go the way I thought it would go, even though I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to go. I had a certain parameter of what I thought might happen, and it looked completely opposite. And so even though that evening of the 6th, I was watching a Charlie Freak call, he was doing a group call with his tribe, if you will. He had it all figured out already, and he was describing it before anybody else was. And funny thing is, I think YouTube may have banned his channel. I don't.
They took him down. They took him down pretty much with everybody else. There's a few they've left up, which is weird, but they took him down, yes.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I saw that video right away before they took it down. But regardless of that, all the news that Charlie had was good, because he was saying, you know, they got him right where they want him, and the plan, and this is what happened today. And, you know, it all looked great. And yet still, the next morning, I woke up feeling all bummed out and depressed. And I think that the message there that I was getting, or the feeling that I was getting as I was examining, you know, why I was feeling these feelings, was that, one, I felt, you know, I was thinking in that, I'm going to call it a 3F rather than the 3D, because it's something you said the other day. You talked about, you know, it's more frequency. So from 3F to 5F, I was definitely in the 3F, right?
Yeah.
So I was feeling like because so many times before, even though I understand all the operation, and I understand that a lot of it was based on having to extract things that the cabal or the deep state or the elite or whatever you want to call them were doing, and they were basically compiling information to be able to use when they got to the court of law at whatever level they're going to do that at. And a lot of times I would feel like, how can I put this? It was sort of like, because I was looking at intel and different people's theories, and like last night I watched David Icke, for example, and David's never been a believer of what Trump is supposedly up to. And I'm going, what if David's right and all these other gurus that are talking about what Trump's doing and his team, what if they're wrong, you know? And so that whole thought of, what if Trump walks away? What if Trump doesn't do anything? And just before you and I got on the call, I opened up Telegram. I have an account on Telegram, and the very first thing I see is a post by a young woman who obviously is in the military, who said she was in some sort of a top secret meeting and it's all coming down. And if the president doesn't do this, what needs to be done now is that he's going to be committing treason himself, because that, like, by his inaction, because he's not doing what the president is supposed to be doing. So as you can see, a lot of emotions, a lot of tumult. And the thing I said on our video was that, even it was kind of funny to say it out loud afterwards, but the feeling was, if the president doesn't take the action that a lot of his intelligence interpreters, people like Charlie Ward, Charlie Freak, and those kind of folks were saying, then that means that we're on our own in this, and it's going to be a big challenge. So you can see where the mind goes, and my mind, I just recognized that my mind was coming still from that space of seeing is believing. I won't believe what everyone is saying about we will win until such a time as it actually happens. And so you said something interesting right after the call. A few of us hung out on Zoom afterwards and had an interesting chat.
The after party, that was fun.
It was really fun. Well, you got to let loose, which you don't get a chance to do as much on those calls, but it was really cool. But the one thing that stood out for me, and I know I'm being long-winded here, but I think I wanted to give this whole...
Okay, you talk away, my friend.
You said, we've got this. And I've heard a few people say that we've got this, as if it's already done. And I've heard this even from some of the spiritual type videos, light worker videos I've seen. They all say that the battle is won at the etheric or spiritual levels, and even, in space and all kinds of things. So I'm going, I don't know if that's true. I don't know any of it, but it sure sounds good. It sure feels good. And it feels like it's all connected. But when you say we've already won, I admire that, but there's also, how do you know? How do you know? It hasn't happened yet. How can you say that? And the last thing that I'm going to add, so allow you the chance to speak to all this mess that I'm bringing up, is when I was meditating yesterday, something else that you said came to mind too. And that is, and you said this, I think even on your interview you called yesterday, is that we create our reality with our thoughts. We create whatever not just our thoughts. I mean, we have all kinds of thoughts, but the thoughts that we adopt and put energy into and really go, bring it into the heart, basically. And I realized in that meditation, it was just a passing flash of thought, but because I'm in a space of questioning and doubt and seeing as believing, and sort of more from that cause and effect, but I'm going from an effect place rather than a cause place, is that I'm always looking outside of me for validation, for proof, for things that are supposed to be a certain way in order for me to believe it or adopt it or say it's true. And that also told me that I still haven't fully integrated that, I don't know what to call it, a belief or that thing that we are that powerful, that we can create anything.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is that what I also realized in that little flash in the meditation was that if someone is doubting, or if someone is in that kind of a doubting space, or if someone is completely saying, well, Trump is full of shit and they believe the mainstream media and all the stuff that's being spewed out there. In other words, whatever you believe in is true and will remain true despite what happens outward in the physical. Because, if you get into an argument, for example, with someone about who's right and who's wrong, it ends up that they're both right in their own minds, are unwilling to yield. So I think I started to get a glimpse at a deeper level for me of what that means, is that your mind creates your reality. And if you believe you've won, or if you believe that certain things are going to happen, they will happen. Even if they turn out different physically, somehow that you'll be able to make it, it'll fit in with what you were feeling. Does
Manifest
that, does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And this is, you asked me a question a while back, and it's only a difference in perspective on some words. Seeing is believing. And my helper, my aide through my snap, said, Lee, just see to believe. And I said, no, I need to believe to see. And it's just that, again, with that understanding that we've got a choice. We can look at it like this, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. This is why there's so many rights. There's no wrongs. But do we believe that we are nothing, or do we believe that we are everything? Now, if we believe we are nothing, then we are nothing. And we will expect validation from the outside, and we're not going to find it. It's not going to happen. And that affects us this way and that way. But if we actually take on board the fact that there is more, if we take on board the fact that the notion that there was a creator, or there is an energetic source, a generator, then, and we are energetic, this comes back to that same thing. It's how much you can actually look at life. I mean, when you say questioning it all, how long have you been questioning it for? How long have you been doubting the narrative for, and doubting yourself for? And what the narrative was causing massive amounts of rational cognitive dissonance, even to the questioners. And then the narrative instilled the pillory and the vilification of the questioners to the mainstream peoples, which caused more division, and it made it harder and harder and harder to keep on questioning, because nobody would listen. And every time you did question, you didn't get an answer. The answer was illogical, and therefore non-logos, or anti-Christos, or anti-Christ. And the whole system was set up so that people that did ask questions along the Buddhist route, our birthright is to question everything until we know. How do we know? Well, we've got to have an internal clock, a mechanism, not just a mental construct of what we see, because that's been so heavily indoctrinated through programming, subconscious programming. I said to a lady a bit earlier today, when we look at other people in different ways, and we say, well, you're indoctrinated into this and you're indoctrinated into that, and when we see the division in society, the point with it is, if we can look at them and say, you have got love in your heart, but you've got hate in your programming.
I love that.
Yeah. And so the division is in the programming, not in the physical, not in the body. The body doesn't want to hate. It doesn't want to, well, I'm not going to say everybody, but in the general, most people want to love. Most people want a union of society. Most people want to commune with society. Most people want to help each other. Most people want to love each other and would love to go back to that. But this idea seems so alien to them, because they've got to blame everybody else for why they are feeling so shit. But they don't realize that they're feeling shit too. And they're blaming you for them feeling shit. So this is the programming that we get, the hatred in the programming, but the love in the heart. So when we're looking for external validation rather than internal validation, right? Do I believe that I'm a loving, caring person? Will you tell me I am? Come on, please tell me I am. Oh, you don't, well, oh, fuck, I'm not then. And we end up in this, what am I? But do I believe that I'm a loving, caring, generous person that would want the benefit for everybody? Do I want to see any disparity or slavery or hate or any of this? No, I don't want to see it. But it's the indoctrination to believe that that's the only way. And we look for external validation of our own internal belief system. So I feel love. Show me that I can show you love. No. Oh, well, shit. Well, I can't feel it then. And we hide all that and suppress all that. And the fact of the matter is, if we can go back inside, when you're talking about meditation, you go back into that heart space. Well, that's that loving, all-encompassing divinity that you feel. Well, if you feel it, why don't you know it? And then why don't you look at what's going on outside? Not you personally, but this is talking in the lot. Why don't you look on what's going outside and say, are we going to maintain this evil doctrination, this stealing of humanity, this farming of energies off us? Is that all we're here for? Or are we actually loving, caring, electric, if you want to call it that, or manifestations of a bigger thing? Are we love, or are we the evil narrative? And so when we can look at it out on the outside in, we can look out there and say, well, where's that narrative taking us? Is it taking us into another period of evil? or is it taking us into another period of, or a period of love? So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for this when we're looking on the outside in this 3D construct or 4D construct of external validation. Did things happen, bang, that removed the evil? No, fuck, it's not happening there. Or did they happen that moved towards the removal of the evil? And that's the difference. You believe or you don't. Now, I believe that we're going into a time of a golden era of peace, and all of the harmonics and all of the evil is going to be off the planet, because we are not evil. We are not self-centered beasts that want the worst for everybody else if we're okay. So along that basis of belief, and that's a simple belief system, man, there's no religion required in that. There's nothing else. Just, what am I? What do I want to portray myself to be? And what do I want everybody else to feel? So if I feel that way, I can look at the outside inputs. I don't need to externally validate my own feelings by asking somebody else, am I right? Or am I this? So I can take on board what's going on the outside and see evil withering, well, already gone. This is just the stage show now for the public to realize at large that they have been lied to for an awful long time and programmed to be subservient to an evil. Now, one more thing on the back of that is this Trump thing. Well, Trump didn't get into power without the military behind it.
Yeah.
And Trump will do what needs to be done to get rid of the evil. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there in the first place. If Trump doesn't do it, it's part of the film. The military, you know, the cleanup is it's already happened, but it's just going to happen in the eyes of the public to wake the public up to this. When we're looking for a savior, be it extraterrestrial, be it from wherever, be it a Trump presidency, be it a blur, whatever it is, we will then end up subservient to that savior.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving us, and not understanding that we don't need saving. We just need to be realigned with our own truths. And who does that for us? We do. We save ourselves. So that the end of this film that's going on now is the people saving themselves. No other savior is going to come in and do all this for us. It's just going to happen. The people are going to do it. Otherwise, we end up slaved again to another subservient leader who saved us once, and you need to do it again, buddy. You need to, please help us again. No. This is the time where we become equal and engage as a collective rather than divided and separated as a collective on purpose. So I don't know if that runs down, without going into too much depth on all the individual bits, the internal knowledge, the internal knowing, the internal thoughts of what am I? That's where I start with a lot of this. What am I? What do I want everybody else to be? Are we this? Are we what we're portrayed to be? No. So if we're not, then I can take that narrative that's being shown to me and go, well, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake. But what that is doing is allowing for this. I'll throw that back at you, see what you've got to come back with.
The only thing that really kind of jumped into my mind with all of that, and I thank you for the answer. The word hope is not a word that I particularly am fond of, although I hear it said a lot. You know, it's because I think it fits very much into that, you know, savior type of mentality. You know, this what the white hats are doing is they're giving us hope because of what are the things they're doing behind the scenes, and the things that they're unveiling, and the research they're doing, and the things they're exposing in the mainstream and in the public and the public's eye and all that kind of stuff. And I know that's the one thing I do know is that hope is not really an optimistic thing. If you're feeling hope, that means you're looking for power outside of yourself. Again, it fits into that savior thing.
Yep.
And I do believe that if this all does happen with what they're talking about and the military and all of that, that there will be a lot of people who may be semi-conscious or unconscious, who start to realize what has happened and discover that, yeah, actually there were a lot of evil people ruling the world through their tentacles and through all these different systems and everything. that they're going to look at Trump as our hero, as our savior. And then that will be another lesson or something for them to learn as well.
You can call it more a fulfillment of prophecy if you want. It's already written. So
Yeah.
a lot of people will be down that road anyway. So it won't be it will be a human savior, which isn't somebody you can be subservient to, you can be thankful to. So again, when we look at the savior bit, if we're looking for an external savior, as in something higher, then we're going to be subservient to that as a larger figure than us. But a human abstract construct of a savior doing the right things with a military presence behind him because they caught them in the act, and this is what unfolded. And when we look at history, we see all that was altered massively to keep us in the position we are. So yeah, there will be, and hope is a requirement for X amount of people. So yes, take hope out of your belief systems, wonderful. Call it anticipation if you want, whatever you want to look forward to. Call it patience. One of the things I've had to learn in the last God knows how many years is patience, man, because it's very difficult to know that it's all wrong and yet be living in it. So patience, I mean, and learning patience over the last year was even harder because you know it's completely wrong now, and everybody should be able to see it, but they can't. So it's okay. So it's not so much hope, it's not so much belief, it's anticipation of what is deserved. Mm-hmm. What the redress of the balance of the scale. The scales have been tipped way, way, way too far, and in cosmic terms, unharmony doesn't work. So they could have. I mean, I'll be honest. As I've said, I've doffed my cap to them many, many times. They could have kept the scale at a certain point and carried on without upsetting too many people, but they didn't. And it got to a tipping point, and now the meek shall inherit the earth. And this has all been written. It's prophesied. The people can see it in every single document. They've heard it from school all through their lives. So there is this sort of innate belief system within people that these times are around, or they can refer back to this time through something else in their life. So Trump's not a savior as much as a Cyrus. I've always called him a system breaker. He was put in as Cyrus to take down what was his name? Nebuchadnezzar's son, Belshazzar. So some Persian king, that's right, Belshazzar. It wasn't Nebuchadnezzar, it was Belshazzar, his son. So Cyrus went in to break the system of the shackles of slavery, taxation, where the balance had tipped. So I'd always seen Trump as somebody that went in to do that. That's his job, that's his role, break that system. Now, let's create the new. So it's not an abstract extraterrestrial or interdimensional or paraplanet being that's coming here to look after us in the eyes of the public. It's us doing it ourselves. And so I take on board the hope, the belief, and all of these things in different terminologies and in different beliefs, internal beliefs, external beliefs. They are waiting for somebody to do something that's physical at this point, so therefore it's hard to see it or believe it, because if you do, then you're looking and hoping for something to happen which isn't tangible now, and it all leads you down another route of this. But it's the same thing. I'll go back to, without going into too much detail again at this point, is do we want this to continue or not? And if we doubt it's going to get better, then guess what happens? Now, does it mean everybody has to be certain that it's going to get better, or everybody has to be assured? No, because the whole point of this is, again, it's free will. So it's my free will to be certain it's going to happen. It's your free will to doubt. And if we were all certain, it wouldn't fucking be here now, would it? It would all be finished. So this is playing out a script, a film. It's pushing the people to find out that there's absolutely no recourse to justice at all. Every single one of them is a slave with no rights. All they're given is bespoke privileges dependent on how far up the ladder of the governed mind system they are. We're just working class, useless breathers or useless eaters, to those guys that look down on us from their ivory towers. it can't remain, can it? It can't. The evidence is coming out. The evidence is there for people to see. They're all denying it. But what's happening is karmic, boom, boom, harder, 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 harder. And if we notice the rise in the boom, boom, boom over the last year, certainly in the last month, certainly in the last week, certainly in the last few days, those are getting faster. What happens when things get faster? If you're looking at them as a vibrationary frequency, where they're nice and slow, it's a very low energy. And when you start to rise up, things start to come in, right? So although we don't see what's going on, you can see the tempo of what's going on. And the tempo of what's going on is rising, 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 rising to a crescendo. What for? We'll find out, won't we?
Yeah.
But I'm certain that that is the, well, we get back our sovereignty, which was taken from us. And we remember exactly who we are over time, not straight away, and how powerful we are as manifestors and co-creators with an intention of love and goodness for all. And this is the beauty going forward. In the past, there was a negative energies, which allowed for negative thoughts and emotions, or self-destructive or socially destructive thoughts and emotions to manifest. Distorted light, as Huna calls it. With the purity of light, then thoughts and emotions that are selfish or hating or angry or all of these things don't manifest. So where we see the narcissists and the what we would call the dark or the evil seeming to get away with it all and actually profiting from what they did in the past, was because it was manifesting the evil or the dark side of it. Now we're looking at the manifesting of the good. So if we want just something for ourselves and the rest of you can go fuck yourselves, it won't happen. If we want something for everybody, boom. You know, and that's the difference in the thought processes of, right, I'm looking for something tangible in the 3D, or can I see the boom, boom, boom? Can I see the vibrations increase? Can I see more people getting involved? Can I see more things happening? Yes, yes. Mainstream media cutting everybody out, being dropped. I mean, we can go into why that happened. All of the iPhones and Apples being Androids being updated so that they can't get the emergency broadcast system. Why are they stopping speech? Why do they want anybody on an opposite narrative to talk? Why? Oh, it's because you're all fucking mad. You're all crazy. Is that what's happened? Or has big tech got above big everything else, and it is just part of the play? It's part of the puppeteering of the controllers behind. So again, yes, it's not about hope. It's not about belief. If that's what you don't want it to be, it's about knowing that this out there, this what I see out there is not what's in here. And it's not what's in most of those people out there. They're in here too. It's just their programming says hate, 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 scarcity, diversity. Sorry, divide, you. I went to a shop today to get something, walked in without a mask. Normally I can get away with it. Some girl behind the counter, perspex screen again, says, oi, oi, oi. Because we've gone into another lockdown, higher level. You need to put a mask on. I said, don't wear one. And she's got a mask, but it's down here. She's behind a perspex screen, right? She's behind a perspex screen. So she goes and fetches one. And she hands it to me. I said, I don't think you understood, love. I don't wear one. Well, I want you to. I said, I don't really care what you want. Well, I phoned my manager. I said, no, I'll leave. Bye. No, I phoned my... I just walked out, you know, okay. It's not you. That's not you. That's the scared you. That's the programming working in you. It's not you. You don't want to force me to do this, or you don't want to feel you have to wear it either. It's not you. So we don't have to argue with these people at that level. We can just say, I know where you are. There's some compassion. There's some love. I know it's not you. I'll leave. I won't cause you any more anxiety. And I don't want the argument. And I don't want to discuss this at this point with your people. I'll leave, because there's not much longer left before this crumbles into a big heap of nothingness. All right. There's going to be some, what I call it now, stickiness and lumpiness.
Oh, absolutely. I can see the porridge of it all.
It's going to be, it's like syrup. But it's been syrupy for an awful long time when you're actually thinking about it above, that dark sort of syrup you've got to crawl through to do through the day. It's just lift.
Yeah.
When you lift above it, it's like, I don't want to go back in there. But like every now and then I have to, like Randy says about 3D legality. So that syrup's going to spread now. But it already is, but it's just going to rise to the surface because you've got people that enjoy swimming in the syrup. They don't want to leave the syrup because they're scared of, well, what if the syrup's not here? This is all we know. It can't be better. They won't let us have any better. This is all right. No. It's just not. It's going to move. Sorry, me rambling.
That's okay. The one thing that I wanted to share out of that, actually, a bunch of things, but you said quite a bit there. I too have been practicing learning patience, throughout not just this year, but the last 4 years. It's been syrupy. It's been a tough slog.
It's a hard one, that, isn't it, patience? When you know it's completely wrong, you're like, oh.
It's not all, in my case, it's not all based on our subject matter of today. For example, I wanted to start a business online and wanted to set up a corporation in it. And the way that I ended up taking it was, it took me almost a year before I got the corporation set up in the States. And it was really, really an exercise in patience. And my whole business at the beginning was an exercise in patience. And then this came along, all of this stuff.
It's a test.
So I've not walked away from this lesson, for a while. There's a bunch of things I want to say, but I think I'm going to start first with something that really, in many ways, broke my heart. But I also recognize that it is a life lesson for this person. But I'm very grateful now that I reached out to Randy and got connected with you and all the different people in the group who I'm just still in the process of discovering a little bit more of who they are. But I know that they're awake people and that they're connected and they believe beyond the syrup stage, which I am very
yes.
And yet everybody I know in my circle from the other business that I have, the volleyball business, a lot of those folks are definitely stuck in that syrup state. And I saw the other day, a friend of mine has been having a really, really tough year with his mom because his mom started to get Alzheimer's. And so she was starting to, lose that mental presence that she has. And her life has changed a lot over the last year. And he shared recently on Facebook that he kind of parroted exactly what the mainstream media wanted to portray in the whole Trump situation. He's not overly political, but he said, I don't normally like to talk about this, but it was very clear to me today, based on what these were desperate workings of a president who's not accepting the fact that he's been beaten, and I just couldn't help but slap myself on the forehead and kind of, oh God. And then he went on to say that that he was just now in the process of getting his grandmother vaccinated with the COVID-19. And that was a heartbreaker for me because I thought, well, geez, I want to say something, but I can't, but I don't feel it's right. And I think the only purpose it would benefit me in saying anything would be to basically ruin the friendship, because I don't think he would be open to that, because he's very strongly said in the past that he thinks that anyone who believes in anti-vaxxing and that mentality is a conspiracy theorist, and they're just crazy people, basically.
Can I just jump in before I forget the next bit I was going to say?
Yeah, go for it.
This is where we get to. Sorry, I'm not trying to shut you down. I will forget this part. This is where
Oops, I lost your audio for some reason.
Can you hear me?
I don't know why. You just went mute. Are you?
No.
You want to mute and unmute on your side and see what happened? Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, it was very weird.
It was. We were talking the other day. I was talking to. Oh, my internet connection's unstable, apparently.
Okay.
So it could be going down. So Tell me if you drop, or I'll tell you if it freezes, and I'll, you know, whatever happens. He was talking about intervening with people, and trying to help them. And what I was trying to explain to him is, well, if you intervene, then what you've got to bear in mind, maybe this was the other night, I don't know. What you've got to bear in mind is their reaction to your intervention could cause you anger, shame, blame, guilt, because you didn't do what you got. You went in with an open heart to try to help, but they came back at you and you didn't know what was going to happen then. And it ended up with an argument that you fell into because they're not listening and they're not listening to you. And you end up with this bicker. And then you walk away angry. And afterwards you reflect back and you feel shame, which drops you right down. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the lessons that we learn as well is, do I intervene? And if I do, I've got to be able to step back and say, okay. But we've also got the opportunity or the option to say, no, I won't intervene. And your timeline is your timeline. Mine is mine. The fact is that we are sometimes ego-driven to say, I can help you. I want to help you. It jumps us into situations where we end up being dropped ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say about that. So sorry if that's jumped in or anything more like that. We have free will options, and we can walk away, we can carry on going, or we can try. But we need to know what each one of those is. And when you say about patience, it's also a test with the people we're around. What I've come to notice is all my life I've been around people that did not believe anything I said. Very few would even have a conversation. Oh yeah. As long, no, don't go into where Lee's going. Oh, Lee, come over here. We could do a laugh. You know, it's all okay. You know, and I just,
oh, there he goes again.
Yeah.
Doing his Lee thing.
But the point being is, it never wavered me from stopping being me. It's like it was trying to mold me into a mainstream believer. It was like, because we're going to put you where there's nobody else around who's going to talk to you about any of this subject, then you're inevitably going to join them. So it's that belief that no. Even though none of you believe me, I still don't believe you. But I love you guys. I'll still be around you. But
yeah,
and you're saying the same thing, right? So you're finding that people are going down a narrative or a topic where they're going to get vaccinated, and conspiracy theorists, and they're not listening to logic. They're not listening to rational thought. They're not listening to anything that makes sense. They're completely cognitive dissonant and MK ultra'd into a mind belief that this is it. And this is where we've been. I think there's a lot of us around the plane, if you want to, whatever, that have been isolated inside people that sort of like it's almost like the people around us have kept us quiet. You know, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Actually, that the whole mask thing is that. You know, it's sort of like once you get the masses, once you get the authorities in governments to come and say, okay, everyone's got to wear a mask now. It's like, okay, well, we got to do what they say. So anyone who doesn't all of a sudden is bucking the system, and that's disrespectful. And you've got to wear a mask, Lee. You're in the store. You've got to wear a mask. And I don't.
I can leave the store. I can leave the store.
Just leave the store. Exactly. Create your own reality.
Yeah, I don't need to argue with you. Now, maybe a year ago I would have argued and explained a bit more, but now it's so close to the end. It's just like, no, it's not worth the hassle. I'll just go to the next store. And funny enough, the next store I walked in, guy comes out from behind the counter with a mask on, says nothing to me, just helps me shop. You know, okay, whatever. But it's finding that space in you to be real with them as well. So I'm not going to argue with somebody or try to change their mind inside that environment. It causes them more anxiety than benefit. So if you can, even though we know different, even though we may think that we know better, they think they know different and know better than we do. So who are you arguing against? It's like arguing against yourself. There's no way out. There's no win. So okay, no problem.
Yeah.
And it carry the higher path, if you want to call it, or the lower path. Most people say, I want to be in here. I want to shop. I'll find somewhere else.
I've completely avoided it because again, this isn't the healthiest way of looking at it, I know, but I see this as what I've done. And that is that I've just avoid, I've been able to create my life in such a way that I don't need to go out and shop for anything. It's all being delivered to me, and I'm very happy with that. And it's not something I enjoy doing all that much anyway. But you know, in the odd time that maybe I would have to go out, I've been steering around it. And what I do know is that from my past experience is that I don't feel like I have been a person that can really stand solid in whatever belief I have at the time. That I can be overpowered. That I allow. Okay, I'm going to reword that. I've allowed people to overpower me, and this comes right back from youth, because I allowed my mother to overpower me with her beliefs over mine, for example. And so, to me, I've always been kind of concerned about that. I don't want to concede. I feel very comfortable with what I believe in now. But my concern is that I will succumb to the pressure if there is pressure put upon me. And I'm going, I don't want to be in that kind of environment, so I just step away from it.
In that mindset, I would say that you're creating that expectation and therefore magnetizing it. So you're actually thinking this could lead to that, and this could overpower me, and there is an intrinsic, and I'll say this openly because you stated it. There's an intrinsic fear of that that's deep set in you, and as you step into more of William's power, then you realize, no, you don't overpower me, son. My choice is whether or not I walk away and just smile and send you love, but I'll remain steadfast in who I am. Who do you think you are to think you're anything different to me or think you're better than me? We are equals. We are inseparable equals. That's where, and again, it's that knowing. Now, you say you need to see to believe. I don't believe so, because what you're actually doing is meditating. And you don't see in meditation, you believe.
Yeah.
So you're actually not what's the word? Conflicting your statements by saying outwardly, your mental construct is I need to see it, but when you meditate, you're actually saying I need to believe it. So you're caught in the sort of middle part where you're very, very definite. You're very, very definitively strong in yourself, but you're doubting it through your programming.
Yeah.
And just opening that part up, we went through that video I did yesterday on the map of consciousness. You can see where doubt comes in, fear, doubt, and that's just below, right? But you're not normally there. You're normally above. It's just when you perceive that mother figure, if you like, or that control, that dominance, that dominatrix from that child is still there, which is just causing you that quivering doubt.
Yeah,
it's a deprogramming or reprogramming. Yeah, and it will happen, and it will come very quickly. It should do anyway. Certainly, listen to fools like me, because when you stand in that power, you become powerful, and people listen, not talk over. And if you don't mind people talking and questioning and even stating facts against you, if you can then stay rational, logical, compassionate, loving towards that person, they can't overpower you. They only overpower you when you're weak and timid and fearful. So, and anything opposite to love is fear. So this is the difference, is can we see them as equal? And if they are, how can they overpower me? Or do I see them as a dominant force and therefore need to be scared of them? But that's work. That's process. That's not a flick of a switch. But if you look at the way you're doing things now, you know this. It's just you don't believe it.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of things that's going on with me, even the subject matter that we started this conversation with, that is more of that. I feel like I'm in that transition space.
It's almost, if you want to look at it, if you want to take that back and extrapolate that slightly into that fear from the mother dominance, or the mother suppression, or the mother subservience, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is your mother to tell you it's okay. So you're seeing on the TV, or you're seeing on this, that, and the other, that what you're looking for is that aspect of your mother to say it's okay, William. You know, then that's what you're looking for in a 3D construct. It's that, who's going to tell me it's all right? And because it's just a little bit that's still in you of that self, of that. It's a box. It's the trauma. It's the trauma from the child. That's what's recurring with this still.
Yeah.
And that just needs to be loved and released and just let go of. But it's a process, and you're in that process. It's not like you're hiding from it. And you're very, very much aware of it, which is even better. You know, it's not like it's something coming out of the blue.
Yeah.
If you look at that, I call it the mother, father in the brain, in the mind, mother, father, heart, whatever, whichever way you want to call it. The parents of the trauma are here. The strength is here, and the trauma's here. But what we do is we look outside for the parents, which are here, to satisfy quell the trauma. And it's these two. So, and this is what you're doing with the meditation, is you're going to go into a position where you release that, or you transmute that mother thing to she was just doing what she was doing, and she thought it was the best thing for you at her time, and she had no idea what it would cause in the future. It was not done on purpose. Leave it in the past. It's that process, and it's that acceptance of did she do it on purpose? Was it, you know, we can go into lots of different arguments on that, but the fact of the matter is, no, they had no idea what they were doing. They were just surviving themselves. They were doing the best they could, and this is the way she thought it would work. She had no idea the impact on the future. So
yeah.
There you go. But it does take that process. You've got to get that little bit through and understand that that's that. And then after a day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, a month, you're like, that's not hitting me like it used to.
Yeah.
And you're probably getting closer to that now by even being on these calls, you know. By doing this, you're stronger in yourself now. You're not bowing down to anybody here. You're not feeling intimidated, maybe sometimes, but it's not about that, right? There's space and there's love and there's compassion here, which is not what you're used to from that trauma, right?
Yeah.
We can't talk to you. We can't squash William. None of us want to. None of us want to. We want to. Come on, William. It's beautiful.
Yesterday, you and Randy were really going at it on the Zoom. You were going back and forth and back and forth. It was hilarious. But at one point, you asked, "I wonder where William is," because he hasn't responded or said anything for a while. And in addition to having a really old phone and a really slow typer on the text, I was actually talking to a friend of mine on Telegram, and she's in Mexico, and she's a free-spirited person. Like, she follows her heart more than anybody I know. And if she feels like she needs to be in Costa Rica right now, she'll go to Costa Rica, not necessarily knowing anybody or anything. And she's followed her heart like that for the last, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. And yet she sees something in me, not in a romantic way or anything like that, but more of she calls me Brother Bear, for example. And she can see the cool things that I share, and she can see the love in me. She can see those things in me that sometimes even I can't see. And so she shared some of those things yesterday in short, little phrases after we had a nice call. And I had this passing thought that, I'd like to see me the way she sees me, like I want to be more in touch with that.
Look in a mirror. Look in a mirror. Tell yourself you love you. Tell yourself I love you. Look in a mirror. Do it loads of times. I love you. I love you. I love you. Just see you for you. See love in you. Tell yourself you love. And this is the thing we don't do. Yeah. We look for it from others. So but you're looking for it. You're trying to see it. Believe it. She says she can see it in you, but you don't believe it. And you're going, I would like to see that in me.
Yeah.
I would like to see that in me as a separation of I and me.
Yeah.
I love you in a mirror. And as an affirmation, however you want to call it, put this into words. I don't follow a lot of the doctrines or that I'm self-taught, and that's the way I like to be. So when people say affirmations, great. Whatever you do is cool. Yeah, but you should do them. Well, I thought so you're assuming I don't. Well, you should. Yeah, okay. What I'm saying to you is if we can rewrite the programming, if we can physically manifest the programming and actually just say, right, overwrite that doctrination, sit in your chair when you're meditating and say, I am love. I am light. I am light. I'm golden light. I am love. I am whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. Rewrite the programming that tells you you're not. Rewrite the programming that tells you I need to see it from somebody else. Just that sort of process. And it's not a fix me, it's not a heal me, it's a no, I want to do this for myself, and I'm going to do it this way until I don't need to ask the question. I just do it naturally because I do. You know, and it's that, and again, it's that sort of process. And it's what happens then is you believe to see. So I believe that this will work, so I will say it and do it. Not I need to see it before I believe it, because if I'm looking for it, it's coming from a place of lack. I need to see it. It's like a need. And if you're needy, then your heart's bringing in lack. You're magnetizing lack. So you're not going to see it. What you're going to see is completely the opposite. Whereas if you believe it, then your heart's bringing in belief, which is you're going to magnetize the good. Yeah. I don't mean to, it's not a lecture. It's not a point back at you. It's just a thought process or a modality that I see as it works for me. And I don't honestly understand why it won't work for others, but it's only my story.
Yeah.
And as I say before to lots of people, take it or leave it. If it resonates, do it. But yes, I understand how seeing to believing works. But then when you actually boil it down, I want to see something before I will believe it is a want. I need to see something is a need, which means you haven't got it in you. I don't need to see anything. I don't want to see anything except love, purity, abundance, sovereignty, health, happiness, and all that sort of stuff. I don't. You know, that's just an expectation of what should be, not a need or a want. This is what should be. So when I say I am love, isn't a want or a need. It's an I am. You know, and that's where the affirmations come in, and that's where, however you want to do it. I mean, Christ, when I finished, when I came through my issues, I had posters up all over the place around the house saying it's over because I say it's over. And anybody I invited in said, "There's my craziness all over the place. Just ignore it." But it was that, seeing that every day was that bounce, bounce, bounce. It's done. It's over. It's finished. This is past. This is done. This is not anymore. And that came from a point of belief until I didn't need to believe it anymore. I knew it. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm beaming over here because I kind of feel like I feel excited. I feel excited that I'm not necessarily about, what's going on behind the scenes, although that's exciting in itself. I'm talking about my journey. I was involved a few years ago with the Landmark organization, and they're about, people really coming into their own power, basically. In a nutshell, they come from a business perspective, and there's some things I'm not crazy about. But the key thing that I really got from that was they have this format where people are allowed to, when the speaker gives the space to do this, they allow people to come up to the podium and share what's going on with them. And a lot of times, what I've noticed is when people did that, the people sitting in the audience receiving that and being a part of that were most connected to the speaker when that speaker was being vulnerable and open and honest. And I got excited about that for myself because I feel like this video, I feel like the journey that I'm going through, I feel like this little issue, if I want to call it that, or struggle, or
neither of those. Don't call them either of those. This progression.
I'm struggling for, it's a momentary thing, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know what to call it, but this little speed bump that I'm going through right now. I feel like by sharing it with you on camera, that anyone else who's feeling something similar to be able to connect to this and sort of being an example for them, and it'll fit for them in whatever way it fits for them. It doesn't mean that my journey is going to be exactly like their journey. It could be a completely different thing. I do feel that I have connection to a lot of power, a lot of gentleness, a lot of love, a lot of kindness, a lot of compassion.
Where does all that come from, William? That gentleness, that kindness, that love and compassion, where does it all come from? This
I just,
lifetime? This
I,
lifetime? Do you think it's just one lifetime? You've developed all of those skills, all of those higher emotional thought processes. Do you think it's just one lifetime that's caused all that in you? Or is that many, 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 many?
you know, I can't exactly answer that question. I will say one thing, and I will give you a chance to say more about that. But because I never used to believe in past lives, and it was just only in the last 10 years or so that I opened myself up. That I grew up as a Catholic, so it's like it's a one-time only deal, right?
Oh
And
dear.
and now yeah, exactly. Well, I'm well distanced from the Catholic faith right now, but the thing is, the one thing I do know is that, or do feel, I will say do feel, because, and I said this to Randy, and I might have said, you might have been in that conversation too, but I basically say, I feel like I have this wisdom inside of me that I want it to come out. I want to share with the world. And part of me is, that the doubtful part, the scared part, the questioning part, the unsure part is there. And so, but there's also sort of an inner knowing that there is wisdom there.
Yes.
And,
Where does wisdom
yeah,
come from? Experience. So
yeah,
all of your experiences, is it one lifetime again? So when we look at it from a narrative of lack, we assume it's just once. Now we've been here once and we've got all this wisdom. But it can't be. It just doesn't happen that way.
yeah. The question with that wisdom thing is, where did it come from?
Right.
Where did it come from? Like I didn't have, like, I've lived a pretty tame, docile kind of life in this particular integration generation, whatever we call it. But yet there's that feeling that there's that wisdom that I'm just kind of starting to tap into. And yet you're right. Where does that wisdom come from?
Right. So
certainly not from life experience, not this life experience.
But the mental construct we have of ourselves, because of the programming, tells us it's just, oh, don't worry about it. You're just whatever you are. And again, rationally and logically, I know people say you've got to be heartbeat, but rationally and logically, putting the nuts and bolts together, you can't get that. Nobody gets that, especially with indoctrination that we've had. Nobody gets these insights, and nobody sees through this stuff, and nobody knows these things in one lifetime. But they're led to believe that they do, because they're led to believe that they're small. But even in your knowing, right, even in your innate knowing in your heart, that this can't have come from this, because it doesn't make no sense. We question the wrong things a lot of the time to find the answers when we don't question the right things. Where do I get the wisdom from? Why do I feel love and compassion fully, more than I see out there? Where does this come from in me? What am I, special, or just, no, it's just, everybody's the same. I can see it in them. You can see the same in people that they can see in you. You just don't believe it. And when you say you're feeling when the vulnerability in talking now, which is wonderful, by the way, and I thank you for it. Do you feel weak?
Surprisingly, no.
No, it comes from a place of strength. And this is the other weird thing, is when we're told to believe that if you're vulnerable, you're weak. Nah, not when you actually try it, because it actually shows an awful lot of strength. And what you get off the back of it is more strength and more power. The more you can open your heart up to other people, the more you speak your truth and your openness and you say what you want, the more power you step into. The more vulnerable you are, the stronger you become, and the more strength there is in that. Yet we're taught to be strong, because what strong means is we don't use the heart, we use the mind. And this is where that disparity occurs, and we end up saying the wrong things because our throat's not saying the right things, because it's not connected to the heart, and it's just a mental construct. And then we go into blame, shame, gain, and all that. But you can see all this coming together. I can see all this coming together in you. You must be able to see it coming together in yourself.
Yeah. That's why I thought I was excited.
Yes, yes. And this is and when we anticipating, right? So now you're anticipating more. But what are you anticipating? You're anticipating more strength, right? You're not hoping for the best of the world. You're actually excited in yourself for more strength and more insight and more belief and more and more and more and more, right? Whereas before we're told this is all you are. And there's the excitement once you start to open that heart space up. And this is what I say is the inner child coming out, going, now I can learn. Now I can be me. Now I can go back to my childhood and actually be a child again and be safe and enjoy myself and experience and go out and find proper love and happiness and all of these things that we're not allowed to have because we've suppressed all this is coming back up in us. And you can see it in Randy, the way he talks, and he's bubbling out of it. It's a child, man. He's just bouncing around with God. And you can see it in some of me or the stuff that I come out with and the way I talk. It's a child. But the child is strong because the parents are strong. Or the mind is, but the knowing is there. So there's nothing to be fearful of anymore. And that's the excitement, man. Can you imagine? It's there now, upwards. Not
well. I have had thoughts of, we are. I've been doing getting connected to a lot of spiritual awakening, as many of us have. But one of the things that I really realized is that we are spiritual beings.
Right.
That we can, our soul or who we are underneath the skin bag will never die. The skin bag might die, but the soul, the essence of who we are, will never die. And I was
let's go to skin bag.
Okay.
All right, let's put that into context slightly. Let's say we're a spiritual being come here to experience a 3D, 4D, whatever reality and learn to transmute energies on a certain level. Now, did the skin bag just appear organically? Or was there a creation of it to house the spirit? Is it more of a divine vessel to house the spirit whilst it enjoys its time here, whilst it learns to transmute darker energies into higher energies? And therefore, is the skin bag really a divine vessel to house a divine being whilst they're here? And so we can turn base terminology, because I was just watching Shitskins. Shitskins are politics, and these people who have that full of shit that's just in their skin. It's oozing out of their pores. They're that full of shit, it comes out of their mouth like diarrhea. And it's an old terminology, like shit skins. And so skin bags, no, man, no, I'm not going to call you on it. It's your terminology, you can use it. But for me, a divine vessel to house a divine spirit, a spark of the whole. But
I fully accept that for sure. I think my point was more so just on that we can never die. And so what I realized out of that is that this is, I mean, I got this at a different level, but this is all the things that were going on, all the drama on the physical plane and all the things that we're seeing. It's a game.
yes.
It's all it is. I mean, I've heard that said many times before. I think Randy's, and yet I was getting.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was just. I was getting at that this is a game. So even if the worst scenario happens of this thing completely falls apart and all of a sudden the cabal get the upper hand and all of a sudden we're all getting injected and we're all going to become robots and all that kind of stuff, we still have that soul. We still have that that whole thing there. And I'm going, it doesn't matter. We're here to play out something. We're here to learn something. So when I see it from that view, from the sort of more distant view, it also becomes less terrifying, less real, less shocking.
Right. So we got two choices of what we think. We are either born to die, and it is what it is, and they'll do to us what they do, or we are eternal, divine, and infinite beings, which is what I always put into my talks. We are, whether you believe it or not, we are divine, eternal, infinite beings. So if we believe that we are born to die, so be it. Whatever happens, happens. Fuck it. If we believe that we're eternal beings, divine and eternal and infinite, then let's have the fucking best whilst we're here, right? So we're going to come back until we choose to leave, right? So let's change the system now. Let's not let them do this. Let's not let them do this to our kids, our grandkids, or whatever. Even if we believe that we are one existence, we're still allowing our grandchildren, children, grandchildren, and lineage to suffer the fate that we didn't stop at this point, which isn't going to happen. It's already done. So this is the point of understanding. So you're at a point where you understand that we're divine, infinite, and eternal, yet you're still looking for a 3D construct. So you can see that there's a program glitch in there. There's still this little bit of something coming up and cropping up, and this emotional feeling that pushes you down again. That's all it is. And lots of other people are going to have a lot more of these programming glitches. And all we got to look at is when we're talking about trying to get somebody to understand what's going on, is that they're programming glitches. We fucking can't. It doesn't matter how much we try, or logic, or rational thought, or this, that, and the other. They're not gonna, because their programming's there. And the only way they're going to get rid of that is by self-removal of it, or a cleanse. So we can drop seeds, and we can say this, we can say that, we can say the other. For instance, I'll give you last one, because I've got to go in a second, and we'll call this part one, or the beginning. the end and the beginning. My daughter, I separated about, we've been together for a long, well, she's 29 now. I separated from my ex 25 years ago. So her grandparents brought her up as well as me. And when she got married, she asked if I didn't mind if her granddad walked down the aisle with me. Now, they're both very, very old, 85, 90. We're very old, not really, but in our lifetimes. And they're both down the route of the mainstream media, and they listen to the doctors, and they've scheduled vaccinations. And I've explained to her what the situation is, and she says, "But Dad, they're going to have it done. What's going to happen to them?" That's the situations you end up getting into, where you just say, "Do you know what's going to happen to them? It's their choice, but you know where they're going as well, which is a relief. There is no grief. It's just a release for now." And again, it's because she's only 29. That's going to be very, very difficult for her. But it should be a mattress when she bounces. She won't hit a fucking hard floor. It'll be more of a comfort zone. There's a little bit of a spring in there, which can, okay, well, Dad might be right, Dad might be wrong, but there is a little bit of this. And that's all we can really do at the moment, because we shouldn't be overlaying our fears and traumas onto the future. We shouldn't be doing that. We're creating the future. So let's not put fears and traumas into there, but let's put things into there that allow for hope. And I know we shouldn't be using that word, but we're not. We're putting hope into others, or a different belief into others that says, what if this? What if that? What if the other? Argue with me all you want. I'm not going to argue back. I'm just saying, what if? What if you're wrong is a great one. What if you're wrong? Well, what if you are? Didn't say I was right. Didn't say I was right. But what if you're wrong? And that's, again, it's just, okay, you can walk away. And it's these little things of, what if you're wrong? Are you sure? Where did you get that info? You sure? Nothing more. And that's because you end up poking a fucking hornet's nest. You can go right in if you want to. It depends how good you are. And what I call it is when the explosions go off. So basically, when you look at angry, when people get angry with you, it's because of their ignorance and their cognitive dissonance. And it's all hidden inside the ego. It's all natural. But when you join a timeline, or you coincide with the timeline, coincidence is bullshit. It's just a coincidence, a synchronicity. And you choose to involve yourself. When they explode, are you going to explode back, or are you going to go, keep going, oh, you're angry, and absorb them rather than react to them? So we can look at a lot of these things as, who are we? What are we portraying in these conversations with other people? Are we just portraying them? Have we become the same? Or are we going to hold ourselves to a higher, not a higher level, but just a higher knowing that you're a loving person underneath there. You're not a horrible, hateful, evil person that you're portraying to me at this point. So why should I have to be the horrible, evil person back? It's just okay. I'll catch your bombs. I'll understand where they're coming from and be compassionate and loving back in my own way. And this is the beautiful thing about it. It's, yeah, but you did it that way, and I did it this. it doesn't matter how you get there. It's just get there. All roads lead to, well, I was going to say fucking Rome, but Rome, they may do again. I don't know. It depends what's left of Italy.
Yeah, that's right.
same as the UK, man. I'm over here thinking, oh, it's going to be interesting to see what's left.
I'm going to definitely wrap it up here too, but I'm going to share something real quick in about 10 or 15 seconds. As you were about to say your last piece, which you've just finished now, in the middle of, as you were starting to talk, and I immediately had this thought of, I want to respect your time. I want to respect your time. I think we're done. I think we're out of time. That moment, I said, okay, I agree. I'm going to send Lee a message telepathically that we're done. This is a wrap. And I just said, okay, now I'm curious. Is he going to get it? And is he going to say it? Not more than 2 seconds did you say that? That you came and actually said that we got to go.
Isn't it wonderful how when you're looking for the wrong things that you don't find them, when you're looking for the right things, they affirm themselves. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful?
Crazy cool. It's I feel like I'm just like, now I'm a little kid. I'm just opening the door and discovering this whole new world. So it's going to be fun.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll call this part one, the end of the beginning. No. That doesn't work. Leave that one with me.
I'll trust whatever you pick. The last one, the Tao and the now was great, and I thought you don't even know it, but you're a poet. So there you go.
Absolute pleasure. Love you to bits, my friend. Hey, stay strong. Just know we've got this. Okay. Meet you soon.
Love you lots.
That was a lot of fun, buddy.
That was.